Okay. All right, here I want to talk a little bit about a foam roller. So this can be a great tool for the connective tissue. So throughout the whole body, there's a web of connective tissue called fascia that it's like the kind of slimy stuff on an uncooked chicken. I know that's gross, but you get it. We all have that. And so that's woven through really the whole body. All of the connective tissue, all of the areas of the body are really connected through that web of connective tissue. And it's meant to be fluid, got to drink your water, to all those things. And yet one of the keys to really a developing practice of I'm going to call it yoga, of letting go, of releasing old held tension patterns is not just the area that you feel the greatest sensation, but also the periphery, the areas above and below. It's called the kinetic chain, where that area that you're really tight in the low back, or I'm going to talk about the IT band on the outside of the leg, that's connected all the way down into the lower leg, the foot, all the way up into the low back. So I kind of want to find a way to release all of those areas that are part of that area that you're feeling. They're influencing that area that you're feeling. Okay, so I'm going to just demo this in terms of the IT band. Let me do a really fun thing to get there though. Woo, really fun. I'm going to do a thing called the SI joint. So right where the triangle of the pelvis, the sacrum rather, where it meets the pelvis, where the spine meets the pelvis, there's a joint there. And in your lower back, if you go to the chiropractor and they adjust, sometimes there's a pop there that they do, which can be good. This is that spot right there. So for some of us, for me for sure, on my left hip, that spot gets really stagnant. And I can actually press my finger there and feel it. It feels like a little sack that's fluid and moves around. Sometimes it's irritated. Makes sense, right? That joint is maybe not moving very well right then, a little bit toxic. So I like to put this foam roller right there. It's a little mini inversion too, so you get a nice benefit of being inverted, all the shift in the circulation, lots of benefits to that. But in particular, I'll use this to do a little massage of both sides, the right and the left side of the SI joint, of that little fluid-filled sac right there. Maybe I'll do some little rolls forward and back as much as I can. Good. So you might like that. Okay, and I'm going to now talk about the IT band. So, excuse me, the outside of the leg. For me on my left hip, with my left hip that's hopefully going to be replaced sometime soon. It's been 11 plus years waiting. You've heard that story. Gosh, I think I'm just bringing that up because I'm ready. I need to keep that leg mobile on that left leg, left hip. If it starts to protect the hip issue. So this is one of the groups of muscles, the connective tissue I mentioned, that starts to be affected. So this IT band, iliotibial band it's called, technically, is the outside of that leg. You see it on an athlete or you or me, on the outside, that little dent that goes down the side of the leg, that line, kind of separating the front and the back of the leg, is the IT band. So I'm going to start at the very top of it where there's a bony landmark. It's called the greater trochanter, where the edge of the hip bone sticks out to the side. I'll start there, and I roll all the way down to the top of my knee, the outside of my knee. Good. So I might have done that a little bit fast. Maybe I was trying to get it over with. That's actually meant to go a little bit slower. I'm going to talk about that. Can I breathe? Am I holding my breath? I saw my hand tighten a little bit a moment ago. That's like, okay, just get through it. No. Relax my face. Relax the breath. Deep breath. And see if I can roll that whole line all the way from that outside edge of the knee all the way to the hip. So that's that main section that I feel tension and I have lately for sure. I'm going to go to the back, the little side of the leg a little bit here, a little more hamstring now. Good. And now I'm going to go a little bit further up. This is called tensa fascia lata. It's the spot just above the hip bone, the greater trochanter, I said. Goes right there to the top of the pelvis. So it's a muscle that has to do with stabilizing. So sometimes now when I'm walking, I actually my leg almost wants to come out from under me a little bit. It's a bit scary. And this is one of the muscles that's just, it's not able to do its job all the way right now. So maybe it's too tight, maybe it's exhausted, could be either of those. So I'm trying to work that spot, if you hear me. So now I'm going to roll a little bit to the front of that hip a little bit. So this starts to go into the hip flexors, the iliacus, the psoas a little bit. So, and the quadricep, the front of the leg of that left leg. And there's some kind of neat explorations there. If you really get particular, you can take the edge of the foam roller and get it right inside that hip bone. Yikes, and get right in there. That's more the iliacus and psoas. I'm even bending my left knee a little bit to get a little more hip flexion and get in there. It might feel a little awkward because you're kind of deep in the body there, but something to explore. If you need some extra support, you could always reach out. I'll try to give more tutorials on some of that. Good. And now finally, what's interesting here is there's a muscle in my low back called the quadratus lumborum. It's the muscle that links the last rib to the top of the hip. So it's right there. So if you think of the vertebra of the spine, the little wings of the spine of the low back, the last rib, the top of the hip, right in there, there's a little gap. It's usually about 3 inches, 3 finger widths rather, give or take, right in there. And that muscle gets really tight for me. It's called the hip hiker muscle. So sometimes when it sounds like your leg is shorter than the other, it's typically not. It's this muscle that's shortening one side of your pelvis. So I'm kind of rolling the round of the foam roller right into that spot. And then I'll kind of roll it around a little bit till I hit the sweet spot. I don't know if sweet's the right word. Oh yeah, it's pretty much laugh or cry at this point. Oh wow, got some good strong stuff in there. So again, and this is all connected. This low back muscle through that outside of the hip, even the front deep hip, into the quadricep hamstring, but especially the IT band on the outside of the leg, all connected. And then I try to do the little sit on my toes and tuck my toes under, sit on the heels and toes back and forth. You know, that one's part of our some of the components we're offering in FreeBack. That's a great way to get the lower leg to release as well. So all of this is connected. Whew, boy. Okay. Now, to complete that, and you can use this on the chest, you can use it on the shoulder blade. You have to get a bit creative sometime, and maybe I'll try to add those at some point. But you might be asking, well, why am I not doing the whole back? Why am I not doing the right side of my low back? Because if you think about that, I'm trying to release the really tight areas to get balance back in the body, the two sides of the body becoming equal, the two legs, the pelvis, the low back, because my left low back is shorter. It's tighter. My left hip and my rib cage are coming together short on that side. So I want it to open. I just released it a little bit. So I want to let the right side tighten. I want the right side to stay tight, and you know, I want it trying to pull the balance back into the low back, if that makes sense. So that's some foam rolling. Lots of variations on that. This is actually typically a two, there's another end on this that's been cut in half, because I like using a smaller version of this. So there's lots of versions to find. So this one's well worn, worked well. Okay, and that's that connective tissue as well. You're seeing what I'm giving an example of here is that connective tissue really from the leg all the way through the back, and you start to explore that for yourself and realize, oh, that's why you like yoga, because you get, you know, done correctly with breath and awareness, you can get those multiple kinetic chains, those multiple areas to release. If you're just muscling through it, not so much. I mean, you'll get some benefit, but this is what we're looking for, is that full release of the connection all the way through the body. Okay, awesome.